Imagine you're standing at a small family-owned bakery on a Saturday morning. The smell of fresh sourdough is in the air, and you reach into your pocket to pull out a crisp $20 bill to pay for your loaf. But before you can hand it over, the teenager behind the counter gives you a look of pure confusion, almost pity, and points to a small, sleek plastic sign that reads, "Card only, no cash." You feel that immediate surge of irritation, that, wait, this is legal tender feeling. But the line is long, so you tap your phone, the transaction chirps, and you walk away. You think it's just a minor convenience for the store, but what you didn't see was the invisible layer of data that was just harvested, the transaction fee that ate a piece of the bakery's profit, and the fact that your physical bill is slowly becoming a relic of a world where you actually owned your purchasing power. Most of us think that digital payments are just a faster way to spend the same money, but we rarely stop to consider that as cash disappears, so does the final firewall between your private life and the eyes of the financial system. Hi, welcome to the show. Today, we reveal the hidden mechanics of why cash is quietly losing power, the slow shift from physical money to digital control. If you're someone who wants to understand how money really works, make sure to subscribe and like this video if it helps you. Look, here's the thing we need to address right out of the gate. Money isn't just a medium of exchange anymore. It's becoming a permission-based service. It's a common financial assumption that a digital dollar in your banking app is exactly the same thing as a dollar bill in your hand, but the reality is far more restrictive. When you hold a $20 bill, you hold a bearer instrument. This means whoever holds the physical paper owns the value. There is no middleman, no request for a transfer, and no digital handshake required. However, the moment that money becomes digital, you no longer own the money. You own a claim on a bank's ledger. You're essentially a creditor to the bank. According to data from the Federal Reserve, cash was used for only 18% of all payments in 2024, down from over 30% just a few years prior. We are sprinting toward a cashless society, but we aren't necessarily doing it because it's better for us. We're doing it because digital money is easier to track, easier to tax, and much easier to turn off. Let's look at the math, because this is where it gets really interesting and where most people get fleeced without realizing it. Most people think digital payments are free because they don't see a surcharge on their receipt. But let's run the concrete numbers. Every time you tap your card, the merchant pays an interchange fee, usually between 1.5 and 3.5%. If a local business does $1 million in annual sales and 90% of that is digital, they are losing roughly $27,000 a year just to move their own money. That $27,000 isn't just a business expense, it's a digital tax that gets passed directly to you through higher prices for your bread, your coffee, and your gas. What most people don't realize is the velocity of money argument. In a purely cash economy, a $20 bill can change hands 1,000 times and still represent $20 of value to the community. But in a digital economy, after 1,000 transactions with a 3% fee, that $20 has been entirely consumed by the financial intermediaries. Let that sink in. The money didn't vanish into the economy, it was siphoned out of the hands of the baker and the customer and into the pockets of massive payment processors. By the time that digital 20 has moved through the neighborhood, the banks have taken more than the original value of the bill itself in fees. Here's where the psychology shifts, and this is the part the banks love. When you spend cash, you feel what psychologists call the pain of paying. Your brain physically registers the loss of a tangible resource. You see the wallet getting thinner, you feel the weight of the coins leaving your palm. But digital money? It's frictionless. When the act of consumption is separated from the act of payment by a screen or a tap, your brain's internal spend warning doesn't fire. Statistics show you spend 12 to 18% more on average when using digital methods compared to cash. This isn't an accident. Casinos use chips instead of cash for the exact same reason, to decouple the fun from the cost. To the financial system, your convenience is their profit margin. They want you in a state of financial numbness, where the math doesn't feel real until the statement arrives at the end of the month, long after the dopamine from the purchase is worn off. Now, you might be thinking, but Finn, I haven't carried a wallet in years and my life is easier than ever. Why does it matter if cash dies? I hear you, but here's where the digital control trap comes in. Look, total digitization is the ultimate tool for financial engineering. We're seeing the rise of central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Unlike the digital money in your bank now, CBDCs can be programmed. They can have expiry dates to force you to spend to stimulate the economy, or they can be restricted so you can't buy certain items based on a social credit or carbon score. Think about the implications of programmable money. In a purely digital world, a government could decide that your money is only valid for food, not for ammunition, or only for public transport, not for gasoline. If you can't buy a used bike from your neighbor without a bank's approval, you don't actually own your money. You're just renting a digital balance. If the system goes down, or if you find yourself on the wrong side of a political or social debanking trend, your digital zeros can be frozen with a single line of code. We've already seen this happen in various parts of the world where protesters had their bank accounts frozen without a trial. Cash is the only thing that prevents that level of total centralized overreach. Here's where it gets really interesting. The privacy erasure is the most surprising revelation of all. Every digital transaction creates a permanent, searchable data point. It tells a story of where you go, what you eat, what medicine you buy, and who you support. In a world without cash, you lose your right to be off the record. We're trading our fundamental right to private commerce for the ability to not carry a piece of paper. Think about the shadow math of data mining. Your bank knows you bought a donut at 2 a.m. An insurance company might one day use that risk behavior to hike your premiums. Without cash, there is no opt-out for the data harvesting machine. Let's talk about the war on the unbanked. What most people don't realize is the push for a cashless society disproportionately hurts the most vulnerable. There are millions of people who don't have access to traditional banking, the elderly, the homeless, and those in extreme poverty. When a store says no cash, they are effectively saying you aren't welcome here to a massive segment of the population. This creates a two-tiered society where your ability to participate in the economy is gated by a corporate entity. So how do we actually fix this? How do you protect your power as cash loses its grip? The first actionable step is the cash cushion rule. Always keep 3 months of basic living expenses in physical cash in a secure location at home. This isn't about being a prepper, it's about systemic redundancy. If the digital payment network goes down, as we've seen happen in major global outages, you are the only person who can actually buy supplies. You are maintaining your own financial sovereignty. It ensures that your ability to survive is not dependent on a functioning Wi-Fi signal or a bank's server status. Actionable step number 2, perform cash-only Tuesdays. Once a week, leave the cards at home. This forces your brain out of financial numbness and back into the pain of paying, helping you regain control of your budget. Furthermore, it supports local merchants by giving them 100% of the sales price. It's a small act of rebellion that keeps the cash infrastructure alive, because if we stop using it, the banks will use that lack of demand as the excuse to abolish it entirely. The revelation here is the difference between convenience and freedom. Digital money is a fantastic tool, but it's a terrible master. You need the psychological fortitude to resist the urge to go 100% digital. Rich people who stay rich understand that liquidity is only true liquidity if you can access it without asking for a bank's permission. They see the math of counterparty risk. If your money is just a number on a screen, it's a liability the bank owes you, which they can freeze at any moment. Take control of your physical wealth today. Don't wait for a bank holiday or a digital glitch to realize how vulnerable the current system is. Start using cash for your daily small purchases. Understand the fees being siphoned from your local community and learn to value the privacy that comes with a physical transaction. Because if we let cash die quietly, we'll wake up in a world where every single cent we own comes with a digital leash. Stop being a passive user of the system and start being an active owner of your value. Take action. Keep it physical. Decode the money. I'll see you in the next one. Money Explained.